It's 2:01 a.m., about to be 2:02, and we now have our 2 a.m. advisory in on Hurricane Helene. Not too many changes, still sustained winds of 85 miles an hour. This is still making it a Category 1 storm. Pressure is down 1 millibar to 971 millibars, so when you see that lessening in pressure dipping down further and further down into the 900s, that is a sign of continued strengthening and movement north at 12 miles an hour, so continuing to pick up speed as it treks through this warm water in the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's where Helene stands as of right now. We'll go ahead and show you the updated track. And as of last night, now continuing to see Helene going to make landfall as a Category 4 storm, not a Category 3 like it was originally. And then actually when we first got the cone forecast with Helene, it was going to make landfall as a Category 2. So yes, going to have sustained winds of 130 miles per hour before it does make landfall sometime around the 8 to 9 o'clock hour tonight. Right there in the Appalachee Bay looks to be the consensus with the cone continuing to slim on down. Now taking a look at this morning, you can expect Helene to strengthen into a Category 2 storm. So sustained winds of about 110 miles an hour. That's definitely a higher end Category 2. And then as we go into central Georgia here, we're taking a look at the impacts, this cone of uncertainty. So once again, this cone that you do see represents all the possible paths that the center of the storm, that center of circulation, can take. So it is really definitely trending further over into the western half of central Georgia, which is deferring from our future view model, but we're going to continue to show you that in just a second. And it is a pretty good consensus that it's going to pass through maybe our western half here in central Georgia. We'll continue to see, but the consensus also still remains. This is going to be a Category 1 storm as it is moving through central Georgia. So that's winds above 74 miles an hour here in central Georgia. After that, we see Helene continue through the northern portion of the state, and take a look at these timestamps. So going to make landfall sometime later this evening. Like I said, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. And then by Friday at 8 a.m., it's already in the northern portion of the state of Georgia. So it is definitely going to be a fast mover all across the southeast, which is good news in terms of flood risk, but obviously already seeing our fair share of rain because Helene is a rather large storm. If I take it back over here, you can definitely see the center of circulation is down here just north of Cancun, a little bit northwest of Cuba, and kind of directly westward of the Keys in Florida. And all of these outer bands of rain stretching already into the state of Georgia, colliding with our frontal boundary. And that's popping up some thunderstorms, even a tornado warning that we did have as of last hour. So that's where Helene stands in terms of strength. Let's pop it over to our satellite and radar picture right now. And it is quite messy. You can see patches of heavy rain, definitely down here in Lawrence County, getting on down into Telfair County, eastern Dodge County, where we in fact did just have that tornado warning about an hour ago, and then other patches of heavier rain further in our southeastern corridor. Seeing some clearing in some areas further down to our southwest, which is good news. Any break you can really receive from the rain is going to be beneficial in terms of the flash flooding risk, but also worth noting, we did have a flash flood warning. It extended for Peach County, Macon County, Houston County, and all the way up to Bibb County. That has been allowed to expire. So that's good news. The quicker we can get these warnings on out of here, hopefully that is a good sign. But right now, still just seeing an influx of tropical moisture here in central Georgia, and what that kind of sprouted down in that tornado warning area down in Dodge County. Chief Meteorologist Ben Jones and I were texting about it a little bit. What we think is that front didn't quite make its way into central Georgia, but we got some outflow from it. So kind of that leading edge gust front, and that kind of collided with that tropical moisture, and it really just skyrocketed up into the sky in terms of a strong thunderstorm, and also in terms of that tornado warning. We started getting some circulating winds with that, but no tornado was confirmed with it. We are going to take a look at our current watches and warnings. So obviously areas closer to where that cone is going to be, even outside the cone, in a hurricane warning. That's going to be that pink that you do see. Everyone else in this red is going to be in a tropical storm warning. So now what that basically means is hurricane force conditions are going to be likely in the next 32 hours, or actually are expected, within the next 36 hours. So that's 74+ mile-an-hour winds for all of these areas outlined in the pink. The tropical storm warning is the same thing. Within the next 36 hours, tropical storm force conditions are expected, and that's anywhere from 39 all the way up to 73 miles per hour. So yeah, definitely a little bit of a difference in that. Basically just saying that the winds with the hurricane are going to be a lot stronger, and you can expect that within the next 36 hours in many areas across the Florida Panhandle and into southeastern Alabama and stretching up here into central Georgia. So let's go through our counties. Hurricane warning counties include Taylor County, Crawford County, Bibb County, Twiggs County, Houston, Peach, Macon, Dooley, Pulaski, Bleckley, Dodge, Telfair, Wilcox, and Crisp counties. And then everyone further down to the south and the southwest here. So areas like Sumter County and Americus, Lee County, getting into Schley County, and then all the areas in a tropical storm warning still going to feel the impacts of this storm. Don't get me wrong, it's just going to be a little less gustier winds right now. And we're looking at Montgomery County, Wheeler County, on up to Trutland, Lawrence, Johnson, over to Wilkinson, Washington, Hancock, Baldwin, Jones, Putnam, Jasper, Monroe, Lamar, and Upson counties here in central Georgia. So if I did just name any of your counties, like I said, the tropical storm force conditions, a little bit less of a gustier wind speed or sustained wind speed than areas in the hurricane warning. And note that shift in the cone a little bit further over to the west. This is definitely correlating with that, as we are expecting the center of circulation to have more hurricane force conditions as it does trek through central Georgia, because make no mistake, it is going to trek fairly quickly and continue to weaken as it does move through here in central Georgia. Now let's pop it over to our future view model, and it might have changed on me just a little bit, but we'll go ahead and take it all throughout today, and we'll take it all throughout the morning hours into Friday. So right now you can see obviously not exactly like what's going on the current satellite and radar picture, but still you can see some pockets of heavier rain, maybe some thunderstorms, exactly like what we're seeing down in areas like Dodge County, Lawrence County, and to Telfair County. So this is going to really continue, and this is going to set the stage for basically on and off rain just about all morning long. So we're taking it to 7 a.m. now. Still, some areas seeing the occasional clearing, maybe getting down to a steadier shower in those green colors, but still pockets of those yellows, those oranges, those reds. Those are the heavier pockets of rain where the more so thunderstorms are. So the outer bands are really going to take on over. Right now we're seeing still kind of a general northeasterly direction with this, which is kind of the direction that we've been seeing all these storms associated with the frontal boundary. But then by the time we get settling into this afternoon, we're really seeing the outer bands of Helene start to settle in and really start to dominate the forecast. And that's when you're going to see a little bit of a shift in the motion. So obviously going a little bit northward there, and then eventually as we get closer to the center of circulation, starting to see them start to go a little bit to the northwest, and then definitely spinning on around. So this is 9 p.m. on Thursday as of right now. This is the time we're expecting landfall from Helene down in the Appalachia Bay area. So not really seeing too much rain, even some breaks in rain. So not really seeing the impacts just yet from the most severe impacts rather here in central Georgia. It's once we get into about the midnight hour going into Friday, that's when those heavy bands of rain and those really gusty winds start to enter our southern corridor. Still not seeing the center of circulation just yet, but if I take it another hour or two, 2 a.m. Yes, definitely seeing those pink colors, those dark red colors at the very bottom of the screen just to the east of Albany. That's that center of circulation, and pay close attention to where this center of circulation is going to track. So about 3 a.m. entering our southern counties right now, actually seeing maybe a little bit of a shift westward, ever so slightly. But the trend with our graph model has been it's going up the eastern half of central Georgia, which definitely was a better case scenario for central Georgia, putting areas eastward out of central Georgia on the dirty side of that storm. That's really going to have the severe weather implications, the tornado spin-ups, exactly like what we just did see about an hour ago. But you can still see that this center of circulation is tracking through our eastern corridor. This area is not even in the cone of uncertainty, but the graph model keeps initializing it even despite that shift westward with the guidance from the National Hurricane Center. So we're going to continue to play this by ear, and we will give you the updates. Obviously, the graph model might get its act together, but still, I do believe more confidence remains in maybe a shift westward, which would put more areas on that east side, that dirty side, more susceptible to severe weather. But right now, that's as our future view model does stand. And by the time we get to 7 a.m., seeing that center of circulation already moving out of central Georgia, north of the I-20 corridor, and still seeing some wraparound rain on the southern side of this and some gusty winds, but definitely not as heavy as that north side. If I take it back just a little bit, you can definitely see pockets of much heavier rain and gustier winds, seeing these wind arrows spin a lot faster than they are on that southern side of the storm. And then once we continue to see it track northward, starting to see some breaks in it, but then by about 7 a.m., our southern counties are looking to be out of it. Obviously, got some cloud cover still lingering, and then definitely some gusty winds, but still not looking at anything in the way of rain. And this is still this ever-changing time. This is still subject to change as we get more model runs out. It does fluctuate a couple of hours here and there, but this is as it stands right now at the 2 a.m. hour. 9 a.m. now, basically no rain whatsoever in central Georgia. So we're looking at the time frame, really the heaviest impacts to begin around midnight and then move on out of here completely by 9 a.m. It is definitely a fast moving storm. So now let's take it a little bit further, probably into the midday hour. By then, it's actually completely out of the state of Georgia. So yes, it is definitely going to get on out of here, go further to the north and northwest, and then we are going to be left with a breezy day, but going to clear on up. And it's looking to be a nice end to the day, but obviously going to pack quite a punch in terms of the gusty winds, the heavy rainfall, the possible severe weather potential. So definitely going to probably need some cleanup later on as we go throughout today. Now let's take a look at our storm outlook. So right now, okay, so we have gotten them updated. I was going to show the day one outlook, which was for the overnight tonight, what we were expecting. It was level 1, kind of dividing central Georgia in half. But right now it has updated, so now we are into Thursday. This is where our severe weather risk does really stand. So all of central Georgia in some type of risk now. Many areas further over to the west and the northwest are going to be in that level 1 risk for severe weather. We have seen a little bit of a shift in this level 2 risk, which I'm more confident in seeing the severe weather potential, the spin up tornado potential. That's going to exist in the southeastern counties, or that's what it was doing as of yesterday afternoon. Now we're seeing that extended further up to the east, really following suit with that graph model run that I just showed you. Areas like Dublin, Wrightsville, getting on into Sandersville, and Lawrence, Washington, and Johnson counties, but still including those southeastern counties. And then over here you see kind of this tan, light orange color. This is going to be a level 3 risk, so even more confidence in the possibility of severe weather, spin up tornadoes in these areas. And obviously just down I-16, very close to our neck of the woods here in central Georgia. But like I said, gusty winds, heavy rain, no matter where you are in central Georgia, east side, west side, you are going to get your fair share of severe weather. Now we're really looking at the potential for those spin up tornadoes. That's really the one thing that's been in question, because we're still trying to fine tune the exact path that Hurricane Helene is going to take. So that's where it stands right now in terms of our severe weather outlook. Now taking a look at the severe weather potential. So this is our tornado parameter, and this is really going to give you a good idea of about, see if I can move the pause point or the start of the graphic back over here. This is going to give you a good idea about instability values. So obviously seeing these lighter colors right now, these grays, these very kind of faded whites, if you will, this isn't a lot of severe weather potential, but it still is there. Obviously, we did get a tornado warning, like I mentioned just about an hour ago. So now taking it on into Thursday afternoon, definitely seeing some brighter whites start to mix into the picture all over central Georgia here. This is 4 p.m. today, already this afternoon, so definitely going to have to keep a close eye on that. So once you get into the yellow colors, you have a little bit better of a chance, a little bit more confidence remains in that severe weather potential. That's Thursday at 9 p.m. around landfall associated with Hurricane Helene. But then you really see these reds, these oranges, maybe even these pinks. That is definitely a good amount of tornado potential right there. But that does remain further down in that level 3 risk that I just showed you. The level 2 risk kind of getting into those orange colors right there in our southeastern corridor, and also continuing up our eastern corridor. So that's really in line with the level risk that we did just see. Most of west central Georgia doesn't look to be in it, but obviously if we see a further shift to the west, that center of circulation, say, passes along the Georgia-Alabama state line, that would put areas further to the west in more of a risk for a spin-up tornado. Now taking a look at the wind gusts, this continues to tick on up because obviously now Hurricane Helene going to make landfall as a Category 4 storm. And yes, I know it's a fast-moving storm and it's moving over land. You may think, oh yeah, well, we live far enough inland to where it's just going to be a tropical storm, just a few gusty winds, maybe a heavy shower or two. Well, before I get into the winds, I want to explain that, because right here I will take it to this right here. So obviously you see drastic weakening, Category 4 by Thursday at 8 p.m. By 12 hours later, just simply a tropical storm. Well, you've probably heard the phrase, the fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line. Well, that's pretty much exactly what Hurricane Helene is doing from where it makes landfall and going on up here into central Georgia. So it is utilizing the least amount of land that it possibly could, maybe besides the Georgia coast over here, but obviously going a direct straight line, direct path, right, a beeline all the way up here to Macon. So that's obviously going to be a fast moving storm and going to continue to weaken. But if it's Category 4 status, there's only so much time available for this storm to continue to weaken, as it is a fast mover. So that's why we are preparing you for the Category 1 effects that we could see for in terms of these hurricane conditions. So popping it over there, let's take a look at our wind gusts. And I want to note, these are not the sustained winds. These are not the winds that are constantly blowing. These are going to be the occasional gusts that are a little bit higher. So give or take, maybe subtract about 10, 15 miles an hour according to what these wind gusts are. We go throughout this afternoon, winds steadily build in, start to get up to about 20, 25, maybe 30 miles an hour, and then really exponentially as we continue to go throughout the night. Here's Friday, midnight hour right there. Gusts up to 41 in Vidalia, 33 over in Dublin, 32 in Cordele. And don't get locked in on these specific values. This is just giving you a good range. But once we really get into the center of circulation starting to pass, yes, we're starting to see really gusty winds up to maybe 70 miles an hour. Sometime yesterday, they did have gusting up to 101 miles an hour in Vidalia. So if I take it a couple timestamps, time by time, you see 80, 90 in Vidalia, 88, 95 in Dublin, 94. So that's really giving you that top fastest wind gust of the range. Is definitely going to be very gusty. That is a possibility. I will say the range of winds is probably going to be lower in Category 1, but still sustained about 75, 80 miles an hour. So 90 is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. It is definitely going to pack quite a punch. And obviously with the heavy rain forecast, it is going to blow many trees over. We're going to deal with numerous power outages here in central Georgia. But I will pop it over to the rain real quick. See what the graph model continues to say about these locally heavy amounts. So obviously you see areas like Sparta receiving their fair share of rain, more than a fair share, I will say, over 11 inches of rain. But I do think the really sweet spot of the range is going to be about 5 to 7 inches for most of central Georgia, with locally heavy amounts approaching that 10-inch mark. It's all going to depend about how long this rain lingers that we currently have on the satellite picture. Obviously, areas that have been getting rain from that frontal boundary and continuing to add on with these outer bands of Helene and then the center of circulation associated with Helene, they definitely will get higher totals. But nonetheless, that still is a lot of rain to get in the next 36 hours. So taking a look at our flood watch, you could probably guess it. Everyone in central Georgia is including in a flood watch. This is going to be low-lying areas near bodies of water. They're definitely going to be more susceptible, but not just limited to those areas. Areas that don't drain well. If you kind of have a little bit of a valley, that's what we're looking at, those areas to flood first. And it's important to remember that this will go from now all the way until Friday morning, and once that rain does move on out associated with Helene. And also important to remember, turn around and don't drown. Even if that water only looks like it's an inch deep, definitely do not drive through any standing water, because obviously it can be a lot deeper than it may appear, and that's the last thing you want, is to get stuck in any flood waters. It could be very dangerous. So this has constituted a weather impact alert day. This is going to go all day today into Friday morning. So for the first half of Friday, obviously gusty winds and heavy rain are going to be an impact here, still trying to determine the possibility of severe storms. It is looking like we are trending further west, but this is what we did get as of yesterday, at least with that cone of uncertainty. And the name, cone of uncertainty, there still is a little bit of uncertainty about the path that the center of the storm will take. So we're going to continue to monitor the possibility of severe weather, and we are going to be full staffed here on the weather team to cover anything, any time of the day, no matter what it is, from now all the way until the first half of Friday. Now, what you're going to need: 13WMAZ mobile app, 13WMAZ.com, our 13WMAZ Plus streaming app, all going to be great platforms to continue to get the latest forecast from me, David, Ansley, and Ben, because the best data that you can get is the latest forecast. So if you see a forecast from me this morning here at 2 a.m., it's going to be outdated by the time we get to 8 a.m. today. That's really how quickly things are changing right now. And also a weather radio definitely will come in handy to get any severe weather warnings that you do get. So those are the best ways to stay updated with us. But now, In terms of preparation, obviously, many of you probably are watching and have already prepared accordingly, but if you haven't, we're going to have that on and off rain today, so it's definitely not really conducive to be outside, but you really have to, don't really have an option as of right now. We're going to want to secure loose items from strong winds. This is what I did yesterday. I went outside into my backyard. I got all the pool chairs. I put them up under the porch. I was putting all the plants up. Anything that you don't want getting blown away, basically, put it under something that is going to be away from the gusty winds, kind of blocked by the winds, or go ahead and store it inside. So this includes patio furniture, trash cans, outdoor decorations, trampolines, and grills and propane tanks, just to name a few, because once you get these strong winds that we're going to have, and like I said, maybe even a gust up to about 90, 95 miles an hour, that's possible in our southern counties as we see Helene pass through. All of these things act as a projectile with the wind, and that's the last thing you would want, something like a propane tank blowing against the side of your house, damaging some structures, or worst case, even blowing into a window and definitely crashing that, and then you wouldn't have any boundary really between you and the elements outside. So definitely secure those loose items from strong winds, but also other actions that you need to do. First, the list, I already told you about this, securing loose items. Buy canned food and water at the grocery store. Fill up gas tanks wherever you can. I know gas stations have been quite crazy just all across central Georgia over the past couple of days, but still definitely want to make sure you have a full tank as we are looking at numerous power outages, and that would make things like gas pumps not be able to work. Be aware of any alerts. We will be keeping you up to date with any alerts by the time that we do get them, and we are going to continue to keep you updated all throughout the next 36 hours. But stay updated on any changes to the forecast. So obviously that shift in path is really the one thing that we're still trying to nail down. We know we're going to get our gusty winds. We know we're going to get our heavy rainfall. We know kind of the range that those gusty winds and how much rain accumulation we are going to get. And it's going to lead to a flooding risk. It's going to lead to power outages and down trees. So the real change that we are continuing to monitor is that shift in path, that shift in that center of circulation, because then that would have more spin up tornado and severe weather potential on that dirty side, the east side. So as of this morning, here's where our headlines stand. Category 1 hurricane will be moving into central Georgia. That is what Hurricane Helene will be, making landfall as a major hurricane, a Category 4, low in Category 4, but still 130 mile an hour sustained winds is what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting as of now. And like I said, taking a direct beeline path up here into central Georgia. Circulation trending farther west according to that cone of uncertainty from the National Weather Service, but still our future view model hinting that it's going to go up our eastern side here in central Georgia. We will continue to play that by ear, but right now I'm leaning more towards the guidance of the National Hurricane Center. Like I said, just something to continue to stay updated on, because that's the one change we're really still looking at with the forecast. But nonetheless, Hurricane Helene is a large storm with widespread impacts. I showed you that already. That center of circulation is down in the southern Gulf of Mexico, just to the north of the Yucatan Peninsula, and we're already receiving outer bands of rain here in central Georgia. So definitely be aware in that cone of uncertainty if you're watching from anywhere else here in central Georgia. Just because you're not in that cone of uncertainty does not mean you will not see any impacts. The cone is all the possible paths the center of the storm will take. The impacts are going to spread all across the southeast, even areas on the Atlantic side of Florida, not expected to see any landfall. So yes, it is definitely going to pack quite a punch, as Hurricane Helene is now our 8th storm of the year, and we are going to continue to keep you updated each time we get advisories here at 13 WMAZ on social platforms, and of course on our 13 WMAZ mobile app, 13WMAZ.com, and the 13 WMAZ streaming app. Thank you.